Hello, everybody. We're here today. It is the first of a series of shows I'm going to do on my weight loss. And I don't see that anybody's on yet, but it takes a bit for that to happen. What happened? I just did something I didn't mean to do. There we go. Okay. Now I can see the chat. So I don't... nope. Seen. Okay. I'm supposed to be on. I've got 5 viewers. Oh, hi, Carolyn Marquise. Guess what, Carolyn? I'm mailing your grid today. You want to see it? How rude of me to show my back to you people when you wanted to look about weight loss. We're going to talk about this is Carolyn's, right? Yes. I'm coming back, I promise. I'm not going too far. Because Carolyn showed up and talked to me. This is your grid. And it's romance. I do believe it was romance. Romantic love is what it was. Yes, romantic love. And that's it completed, and it's going in the mail today. Or possibly tomorrow morning, because we're still raining here. And Prince Charming's mom's here. Good. I got 7 viewers. I'm going to talk about... This is about my weight loss journey, and this is the thing people said they most wanted to hear about of all the stuff that I proposed as a way. What happened? Okay, now I can see all the chat. Hello, hello, hello. I hope you like the grid, Carolyn. I think it's pretty. And it's going to be so exciting. I took a week off. The reason this is taking a little longer, Carolyn, this is like a private conversation between her and me. The reason this took a little longer was because after the 9 candles, I had to take some time off because I was just exhausted. But hello from Middle Tennessee. Ooh, cool. Okay. As you know, I always start with reading something in the garden. And today's garden reading is this, and what it shows is the mind is between path forward and false, but what it's saying is don't let things that blind you from your past and see the path forward. Clarity is the path forward, and the throat, which means speak your own truth and move forward, and it's very good. The heart, our values are leading us into this journey on weight loss, if that's where you're headed, if that's what you want to learn about. And then our spirit is in the presence, and that means that the way our energy is focused now is really good for us to have this work. And this is the best one. This is the body, and water is, earth is where things come into this garden. Water is where things go out from this garden. And this says this is sort of, I looked at it when I first saw it, I thought that's kind of funny. Sort of like, we're going to shrink our body. Our body's going to be in a way out of here. So, but this isn't going to be just what to eat or how to track macros and all that stuff. I'll get into that later. Oh, good. You got internet today. Woo! What I'm going to talk about is not so much how to lose weight. This first week is going to be about why I gained weight. And I didn't realize it when I picked this day to start these shows, and I picked it a couple weeks ago. First of all, I'm going to tell you about divine timing on this. We're going to have a new moon in approximately 3 hours from where I am right now, and this new moon is in Scorpio, and it's the sun and the moon. You know that when it's a new moon, it means that the moon's just It's just dark, and that's where the sun and the moon are conjunct when they're going around the planet. They are directly opposite, and I mean by 6 minutes, which is each degree is divided up into 60 minutes. So within 1/10 of a degree of Uranus, which is sudden change. So if everybody's been feeling a little off center this week, and my God, how come this is happening and what's going on around us? It's because of this new moon. It's in Scorpio, and Scorpio is a perfect place for us to have a new moon if we're going to talk about taking on the endeavor of weight loss. Because weight loss is letting go, and it's not just letting go of the pounds. It's really letting go of what's in your heart and your mind. And I was, for 30 years, morbidly obese, and I was hoping, I had pulled a picture up. I'll show it next time. I'll figure it. Tech support is off really doing his real job, so he can't help me with this one. But trust me, I don't look anything like what I look like. Well, I mean, I still have the same funky purple glasses, and my hair, I don't think in the picture I have is purple. I don't have a lot of pictures of when I weighed 300 pounds, for good reason. You don't take a lot of pictures when you weigh 300 pounds. But I started doing some techniques to try and help me figure out, because I had tried to lose weight before. I was not a chubby kid. I was a skinny little kid. I weighed 125 the day I got married. That's good. You should eat lunch. I mean, I'm not saying people shouldn't eat. I'm saying, it's kind of what you eat and the order you eat it in that will help you. But I looked at where I gained weight. And when I gained the first weight I gained, it's when I got married and I started taking birth control. And I will guarantee you, as you get into this weight loss journey, you're going to find out hormones and us messing with them and screwing with them has a lot to do with why we have the weight gains we have. So, after I'd taken birth control and I had my first son, and then I was in graduate school, and then I had my second child while I was in graduate school. And when I got to the end of graduate school and I was going to go out and interview for jobs, I thought, I need to lose some weight. And at that point, I weighed about 180 pounds. And I'm 5'4", so, picture. Anyway, and I went and got hypnotized. I went to this hypnosis clinic. They hypnotized a whole room full of people. You'd go once a week. You'd get all relaxed. It was lovely, and really, I did enjoy doing that. And I was losing weight, and I got down to 137 pounds, I think, is the lowest I got at that point. And everything was going along fine. And then one time while I was under hypnosis, I had a face come right up into my face like in a dream thing and just said, "You don't belong here. You shouldn't be losing weight like this. This isn't right." But it was such a scary face that I couldn't get hypnotized again. So the next time I went the next week, I just couldn't, I bolted out of the room. I just couldn't handle it. And I went and talked to the people who ran the clinic, and they had small groups where they would hypnotize you. And they worked with me a little bit in that, and it kind of worked. But they said, well, something's just obviously come out of your brain and interfered. And so I'll tell you, the hypnosis did work in one way. I went to work for a major company. I mean, I lost the weight, got a job, went to work for a major company, and I ate in the cafeteria for like 5 years. And 3 years in, I walked in one day and I said, "Oh my God, they have dessert section now." And everybody looked at me like I was nuts, because they'd always had the dessert section, but one of the things they taught you to do in hypnosis was to not see the desserts. It really worked for 3 years. But slowly but surely, I began gaining the weight back from stresses and strains. And went through a separation and a divorce and all the stresses and strains from that. And there's a little nasty stuff called cortisol, which we'll discuss another time. But cortisol is the thing that helps us do fight or flight. And it also ups the glucose in your system. It ups the insulin, and it makes you it's impossible. If your cortisol is high enough, it's impossible to lose weight. You have to get calm. You have to get that straightened out. So then my second concerted effort to lose weight was I did one of those fasting diets where everything you eat is like in a little envelope. And I did that. Hi all, Anna Banana is here. And I did that and I lost the weight. And at that point I ran a construction company, so I was up and around, and I ended up having to cut my work days back to 6 hours because I didn't have any energy, but I lost weight. I mean, it melted off. But it was supposed to be medically supervised. I was at a major medical facility here in Dallas, and I got off the diet because I just I couldn't keep working and do that diet. And shortly after I got off the diet, I got a horrible kidney infection. And my general physician who'd sent me to this weight loss thing, he was very, very upset because when he asked for my medical records, they were supposed to be tracking us every week to see how our bodies were working. Well, they'd only done 2 urine analyses on me the whole time. One was the first week and one was into the first month. Then they never did them again, and they were supposed to be doing blood work and all this other stuff along with the diet. And I had gotten that kidney disease from the high protein thing and it not being balanced, and me not being watched. So that kind of put me off of dieting. Then I had bad knees, which is one reason why I quit doing my construction company. And then I did a third shot at Weight Watchers and another one where they work with your head. Actually the place that says we teach, well, it's new. They teach you the psychology. It works to a point. It doesn't work to someone who is as overweight as I was. And anyway, so then I kind of hit a wall, and I sat down and I wrote out, what had worked, what hadn't worked, and I realized in 2018, which is a picture I wanted to show you, but I don't have it. I can't find it. I sat down and I said, well, what can I do? What's something I can try? And so I just happened to try, and I've got it in the notes that'll follow in the show. I found on Daily Ohm, which has a lot of different courses you can take, and they kind of let you pay what you can, so they're pretty good. I did the 21 days of tapping. I did EFT, and I'm going to talk to you today. I'm going to show you the tapping I did. Now, I wasn't dieting. I wasn't trying to control my food. I wasn't doing anything. I was eating like I always ate. And but this is the way tapping works. And I've put 2 references. One is the Daily Ohm course I took, and then another one is a guy named Dr. Alan Mandell, who's he's motivational doc on YouTube. And he did a thing a year ago I saw, and it was very good. And it's on the 9 points. And what you do with tapping is you self-talk to yourself. And in particular, if you follow the one that's on Daily Ohm, she does it about weight loss. You can do it about sleep. You can do it about anxiety. You can do it about anything. Because what you're doing is you're tapping here, then you're tapping here, you're tapping here, you're tapping to the right underneath your eyes. You tap here a certain amount of times. You tap here a certain amount of times. You tap on your sternum. And then you tap on your sides, which was the one I always had a big pain with because I have big boobs and it's hard to do that. And then you tap the top of your head. But what you do is you set up, it's a self-talk thing. So the first thing you go through, you define the problem. So when I was starting the thing on weight loss, I was like, I don't know why I'm holding on to all this weight. It's, why do I make the choices I make? Can I see what I'm doing to myself? Can I make sure that's happening? And you just keep that kind of self-talk down. And this was always one I thought was weird, but it actually, when you do this, and it takes a couple minutes, took 3 or 4 minutes a day, and I do it twice a day. And I would just run, and this woman had a tape that her thing was on weight loss, but you talk yourself through and you go, okay, how can I free myself from this weight? What's going to make a difference in my life to help me get past this. And then I'd go, maybe I need to relook at myself. Maybe I need to decide, is that the weight I need to be? Maybe I'm the weight I should be. And you just go through and you talk to yourself. And you're refocusing your mind. And they've done studies on this. And when you do this tapping stuff, it really does put those thoughts into your head. And what mine would always end up being is, I'm going to find a way to conquer this problem. I need to learn how to live within this body and make it as healthy as possible, because it's the only one I have. And after doing the tapping for a while, I became aware when I was tapping that there were things I said to myself that were so negative about my own being, my own weight, my own self, that I started to monitor my own speech. And I started working between meditation and listening to what I was really saying. And this is a true example of where someone acted out in a way that they actually physically pulled in. You know, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. I had a friend that I was close to as a child that had a horrible temper. I mean, this person had the worst temper I'd ever seen in my life. And but his whole goal in life was to become a doctor, become a very specific kind of surgeon. And he was really, really smart. But we used to always joke he was constantly going into blind rages. And he would just lose it and explode. And even he said, I go in these blind rages and I don't even know why. I don't even understand myself. Within 4 weeks of him passing his national boards for this highly specialized kind of surgery, he woke up one night and he was completely blind in one eye. He managed to get to a health facility and they stopped it from spreading to the other eye. But it was almost like, one of those self-fulfilling prophecies. So if you're driving around in traffic and you say, all these cars are going to make me mad, this is going to piss me off so bad I'm going to be sick, whatever, all those kinds of negative thoughts that we think about ourselves, I had a whole ton of them. I mean, when I would sit on Central Expressway going into work to reading cards and stuff, I would just get so wound up. And when I was tapping, I began to realize that wasn't good for me. That was not the release I needed. And I started monitoring my own speech. I asked my daughter, if you hear me make a comment like, I'm going to lose it completely if I have to make one more meal or one more this or handle this thing again, or this is going to drive me crazy. That was one of my favorite ones. But we've all had friends who said, oh, that the routine I'm in, it's just killing me. Well, no, they should think about what it would be like if they didn't have a life that had any kind of routine. I know Marissa Peer, who I didn't put her in the things, but I'll put her in next time. She's really good at working with people and teaching you how to listen to yourself speak. So I did 3 things. I did the tapping, I did the self-speak, and I did the, and I was just sort of wandering around, and right in the middle of all this, and this is synchronicities, guys. A friend of mine called me from Denver, and she said, I said, how's it going? She said, well, I'm feeling a lot better. And I said, why are you feeling better? And she said, I've lost 50 pounds. So she and I used to walk together when we were in our 20s trying to lose weight. And so I knew this had been a struggle she'd been having for a long time too. I said, well, what the hell did you do? Because I know how she likes to eat, and she likes to eat the same things I do. And she said, I found this thing called Keto. And I went, I'd never heard the word. I said, what is it? So she said, go look on the internet, go on the YouTubes. There's tons and tons of people working with it. Or go on Google it and find out. So I Googled it and found out about it. And I ended up finding you'll see it in the things I posted below. It was Thomas Delaurer, and he had just that August published a September challenge to try and do keto for 2 weeks. So I looked at it and I went, what the hell? Now, guys, mind you, at this point, I'm a 3X. I weigh 300 pounds. And I thought, well, it can't hurt any more than what I'm doing to myself now, you know. And so I got his little, and it's all in there. I put up the whole video that he has, and it's got a PDF you can download of the diet. And I tried it for 2 weeks, and I didn't talk to anybody about it. It was my own self journey. I didn't announce to the world. When I would try things before, I'd go, wow, I'm doing Weight Watchers, or I'm doing this, you know. And I just started losing weight. I mean, I literally, that was in September 2019. By December of 2019, I was walking out of my pajama bottoms. Literally, I'd stand up and I'd have to pull all the ropes in all the time because I was walking out of it. And I continued to do the tapping somewhat, but I started really, really studying and reading and learning about what's in our food, what's in the standard American diet, what does it do to our blood sugars, why do we gain weight on it? And I became somewhat of a walking expert on it, but I try to be nice and not press it on my friends who didn't want to talk about it. And then I continued on the diet, and I was down 60 pounds in February when I came home when COVID started. And I have lost another 40 during COVID. And I was continuing to lose. I did a show early on where I got to 199.9. I got into Wonderland. I am not in Wonderland right now. I'm at 206. But I found that trying to run a YouTube channel and trying to run everything else, I just kind of hit a plateau. And I hit a place where it just wasn't as easy for me to take the weight off. So I've been messing with, there's a lot of variations you can do. There's keto, there's just low carb. There's a lot of other stuff that you can work with later. But the first and most important thing I want to say on this new moon day when we're getting ready to start a new project like this, if you choose to join, I would suggest that you try tapping or listening to some of the speakers like Marissa Peer, and it's Marisa, and Peer is Peer. She's British. I'll listen to her about self-talk and how we undermine ourselves, because your mouth says it and your brain hears it. And I know it's coming out of your brain too, but I mean, it really, you start to reinforce those things on yourself. And, you know, but I'd say the two things that started it and made it easier for me, because I can tell you, once you get into a low carb pattern, the miracle is you don't get hungry. And that's when I would do other diets. So I always felt like I was being deprived, and I didn't like that. I mean, I really am a stubborn little nasty person. Some part of me inside that says, if you say no to me, it's going to make me just want to go do it more. But this diet didn't do that. And the other thing is, I was talking with my daughter when I was writing some of this stuff up last night, and she said, if you just had to stop where you are now and just, since you've been holding your weight, what would that be like? And I said, the other thing keto does is it eliminates, for me, I've had arthritis since I was a kid. That inflammation's gone out of my body. I feel so much healthier. I sleep when I'm really, really solidly in the keto and I'm doing the things that are for relaxation. I really, really sleep very well. I don't sleep very well when the masters and the guides are channeling stuff through me at 3 a.m, but you need 8 hours of sleep, and if you can do 4 and then do 4, you're going to be kind of okay. I just feel so much healthier, and I like all the food that I eat now. And I mean, I always like meat. I like meat, and I used to say I'm a meat and potatoes kind of person, but that's not what I want to do anymore. Yes, and Joe Dispenza is another one. Joe Dispenza talks about neuroplasticity. That's what Marissa Peer is talking about too. He speaks about it as you he speaks about it as you seeing yourself in a different light and really moving forward and making great gains. And I really, really enjoy Joe Dispenza. Marissa Peer talks about it. I think from a feminine point of view, I think she talks about it in a way that we really, that as women we can relate to it. So guys, you can listen to her too. I'm sure she's great too. I'm not a guy. So my homework, because this is going to be something I'm going to do once a week. My homework this week is to try to find things that will relax you, that will tie into your systems. When I first did tapping, I'd already done some acupuncture, and acupuncture is the way that I finally got my blood pressure under control. Meds, nothing. I take no meds for any of that stuff anymore, but the meds never did it. Nothing ever did it. I went to get a sample acupuncture treatment, and my blood pressure dropped so rapidly that they had me walk around the studio where they were doing it to make sure that could make it home without fainting. And I do intermittent fasting, and I'm going to get into that, but the word fasting sort of scares people, so I'm going to try. If you start doing keto, you kind of eat in an eating window. And I'm going to talk about how to track your glucose, what are ketones. I'm going to give you all that stuff, and then I'm going to give you all the links of the people who taught it to me so that you can go back and hear some, because some of them do a lot more scientific look at it than I do. So that's kind of the intro to keto. And I'll tell you, when you get into keto and you're watching some of these people, and they'll talk about how they didn't eat for a day, they didn't eat for 24 hours. And I can guarantee you guys, when I started this, I used to sit there and roll my eyes and go, I can't make it to the next meal. And one day in the fall, after I'd really gotten into keto, I got up one morning and I had some errands I needed to run, but it wasn't time for me to, this is what you're talking about. You eat 18, you can do 18-6 or 16-8, but the little number, the 6 or the 8, is the hours that you can eat during, and the other time you're using liquids and things and you're just fasting. I'll talk about keto and paleo in a second. So I got up in the morning and I thought, well, I'll just go run this errand and then I'll come home and I'll have my breakfast, because then I'll be back in my eating window. And that's what you call it, your eating window. And I went off, and you know how it is when you get out. Well, before COVID, you'd go out and you'd go one place and then they didn't have what you needed, or they needed something else to make it work. And finally, people would, I wandered around, and when I got home, I realized I'd eaten my dinner very early the day before. When I pulled in at 4 o'clock, I realized I hadn't eaten in 24 hours. I'd had water, and I'd picked up an iced tea, and I don't like sweeteners in my iced tea. So I had iced tea, but I hadn't had any solid food for 24 hours, and I was not hungry, and I wasn't faint. I went in and made a nice piece of salmon, which is one of my go-to things to eat, but it just happened. And I remember and y'all whose eyes are rolling to the back of your heads right now, you're thinking, I can't go 24 hours without eating. I didn't mean to, but I did. And there is a thing about fasting for 24 hours and doing things like that, but that's down the road. Why don't we get through with the why I'm holding the weight I'm holding, and then we can go to how can I handle losing that weight. What would be the best method for me? There's all kinds of low carbs, there's modified protein, there's paleo. Paleo is an interesting thing. My daughter did paleo because she found out she was allergic to wheat, and so she went in one day and cleaned our entire cupboard out, and this was before I'd ever even thought about doing any of this. And she just we just ate paleo. She said, "Can you cook like this?" And I said, "Yeah." And so I cooked like that for her. And And it was good. I mean, I wasn't gaining any weight. She lost some weight. She eventually had gastric bypass surgery because they found out she had a hole in her diaphragm anyway, and they were going to go in and mess with her stomach anyway. So I have 2 kids who've done gastric bypass. I would not do that. And I've lost as much weight as they have. And I wouldn't. I mean, it's just a personal preference. I don't like people digging around in my body. Thank you very much. So I guess my message for you and I'm going to do this next Thursday again. My message for you is going to be start with the why. Why did I end up here? And then we can deal with the how. Because once I got through all of the things, and I did figure out who the face was that showed up when I was being hypnotized, and a whole lot of other things, and I got rid of a whole lot of the negative messages that people had given me when I was younger, that they gave me I think a lot of times we get things out of love from people, but it's not particularly lovely what happens to us. But once you get past those things, then you can lose the weight, and you're not defensive about it. You're just losing the weight. And it's all choices I make every day on what I stick in my face and what I don't. I swear to you, I have never had anyone sit on my chest and stuff a fried chicken leg in my face. I mean, never happened. I do have a friend who dieted a lot, and her husband did that, and that's when she decided, maybe this isn't the marriage I want. But it's another kind of story. So does anybody have any questions? Because I tried to get the ones about, have I done paleo? Yes, and paleo can be very good. Whole30 is another good option. I'm going to go through all those. My own personal experience, though, is with keto. Yeah, sometimes you have to put a little more weight back on. I am not, unfortunately, at that point. I have to lose, when I get to 190, I'm going to go get, and this is sort of in the weeds about keto, but I'm going to go get a DEXA scan, which is a body scan they do, and they measure your legs and your trunk, and they look at all your internal organs. They figure out where the fat is in your body, where it's hiding. And then they give you what is really your ideal weight. Now, not to make every woman in the room jealous, but I have the bones of a 45-year-old woman. I mean, every time they do my bone density, they go nuts. I actually had them one time. They went and they readjusted the machine because they thought it was broken. So I know, and I'm not saying I'm big boned. I'm very short legged, though, and I have a very long trunk. So I'm anticipating that I probably about 160, 165 is going to be a good weight for me to be at, so that I have something left on the body in case I get sick, because the few times I've been sick, I lost a lot of weight. Yep, if you don't deal with why you got there, it's going to just come back. Something's going to trigger it off. Yes, and the other thing that can screw you up really fast is if you're on medications. You need to find out what the effect of that medication is. I have to use this periodically. It's for my breathing, because I had double pneumonia, bacterial and viral at the same time, and my lungs are a tiny bit screwed up. So there's certain times of the year that I need a little help. That's the only med I take. It has steroids in it, which sets off cortisol. So I know the second I huff on that, my weight loss is gone. I mean, I'm not going to gain weight, but I'm just not going to lose any. Yes, if you have insulin resistance, and that's what don't want to scare everybody and make them think this is a science class, but if you have insulin resistance, keto is definitely the way to go, because it helps break down the mechanisms in your body that are doing that, and it helps your body heal and get rid of the insulin resistance. And actually it's kind of fun when you start learning about that. Somebody wants to know about balancing your pH. There are a lot of things that you can take that will fill you with, will balance your electrolytes. There's actually some pretty good stuff you can mix in water. Yes, and you will gain a lot of weight because of medications. That will trigger it off. And anyway, I'm going to say this right now. I should have said this at the very beginning. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I was never trained in medicine. I did work in hospitals a bit because my dad was a doctor and I worked in labs, so I kind of have some idea of what I'm looking at. But this is not for medical advice. If you want to start some kind of diet, you can start with your own doctor. If they use a standard American diet, then you might want to go do your own research. I started on keto and I had a doctor who kind of understood who I was, but she wasn't really excited about the keto. And then when I moved up north in Dallas, I went to look for a new physician, and blindly, without even knowing what I was doing, I picked a physician's assistant who has been a keto coach for 15 years. And she is all into keto. We sat the first day I went with her. We talked about my macros. We talked about how to balance things out. And she knows how to run all the blood work. That's one of the problems is you eat a lot of fat. When you're in keto, there's fats of different kinds. And that can sort of make your blood work look unnatural to people who aren't trained to do it. Yeah, Patty, so yeah, I think that, when I hit brick walls, it's because my mind wasn't in touch with my body. And I know there's been large periods of my life just being a psychic and always having been very psychic and always having been an empath and not having been able to turn it off. Yes, for educational purposes only. Yes. I know I lived outside my body for a long time. I often said that my consciousness was in a balloon following behind me, and the body just kind of went around and did what it wanted to do. So trying to get all that, get it all balanced. If you're into keto, that's great. If you just want to hear some different ways, sugar and salt, yep. I hate plateaus. I mean, they're boring places to be. The other thing is, if you're really going to start this and you're like, I really want to make a commitment to this, do all your measurements. I wish I had. I pulled out some pants today. I've only kept one pair of my giant pants. I was going to try to figure out a way to use them, and there's not a way in this room for me to show you, so I'm going to try to get a picture I can post of how big those pants are. And those pants were tight on the day I started this diet. That's my best way to measure that when I walk out of my clothes or when I have to buy all new bras. That's the ways I know to judge that I've lost a lot of weight. And but like I said, there's a lot of other tips and tricks that I'll be going through on this, but for today, I want you to think about, why do I hold on to my weight, and do the tapping. Go to Alan Mandell's link. It's a link. It's a YouTube thing. It's really easy. It's exactly the method I used. He talks about relieving stress doing it. I did it with weight. Today's an incredible new moon. That's the other thing I woke up to, is Molly McCord did a long thing on the new moon. And this is an incredibly powerful new moon. And if you're going to do something like weight loss, this is the new moon to start it under. This is the energy of the planets will be pushing you forward and giving you a kickstart. Yeah, you can lose 10 to 15 pounds. I mean, lots of different things. I'm Alan Mandell, and it's with 2 L's, and it's going to be in the description after the show. And he's also a motivational doc, if you ever see his stuff. He does really quick little things. He does a lot of tapping, touching, ways to trigger your body to do things. It's just he happened to show the exact method that I used to get in touch with getting my thoughts straight so that I could start to lose weight. And that's where you got to start. So, this has gone on for 40 minutes. If anybody else has a particular question, type fast or okay, thanks. And it is, and the new moon will be at 4. It's around 4:20, I think, Central Daylight Time. Adjust your times accordingly. And yeah, this is, and it's huge because it's exactly opposite Uranus. I cannot tell you how odd it is to have that particular conjunction that exact on top of Uranus. And I've always found when I have things on my own chart that hit that exactly and hit it to those kind of degrees, it makes a big difference. Well, Joanne, if you look at hear what I say and you try some of these techniques, you can maybe figure out why thyroid can screw everything up, Carol. And the other thing about thyroid is a lot of people, when they get on keto, it straightens out thyroid problems they've been having. Hi, Skywalking. Yes, you can write about why you're holding on to weight. You can, and the other thing you can do is if you have a close friend that you trust, and what close friend do you have that you don't trust? But you can ask them to listen to your language and tell you when you're sabotaging yourself in your own words. The new moon will be, it's going to be about 4:20 Central Daylight Time this afternoon. That would be in approximately a little less than 3 hours from where I am right now. And it's opposite Uranus. Uranus tends to act quickly, make changes quickly. It's a great time to grab onto that energy from the sky. It's like and Mercury's direct and it's out of its shadow. I mean, there's nothing out there that should be blocking us. Okay. I don't practice medicine, but I do know that tumors are, they live on glucose. And so there's a lot of people there's a lot of medical professionals now that use keto in conjunction with, thank you for all the little emojis, they're cute, that they tend to use it. The first doctor I went to who stood up and said, yay, rah, was I had a melanoma that didn't get systemic, thank God. But I have to be checked all the time. And I'm down to I think I get checked out once a year. But my dermatologist, I went in and she's seen how much weight I'd lost in 2019. And she said, what are you doing? And I told her I was doing keto. And she's a teacher at the UT Southwestern. They're using keto more and more to control psoriasis and other skin rashes and other autoimmune diseases. She said it's been like a godsend for them. And there's a question here. Okay, somebody asked a question up here I wanted to... I can't go backwards in the chat. My little arm thing to control the chat is not working. Oh, now I just blew the chat up. Oops. Okay. It's not going to go. Over here. Okay. Somebody wanted to know moon rituals. On a new moon, it's where you plant the seeds. That's where you write your intentions list. And you write the things that you want to see come about in the next few cycles. If Dorothy Morgan's running a really good, interesting set of free, you can just go and see them. things on the phases of the moon, because the moon actually has like a 3-year cycle, and she's always telling me, oh, you're on this part of this cycle. And yeah, you can write out a list of your intentions, and then there's some people who say burn the list, some people say keep the list. I actually write mine in a book, and then I can go back and look at it. I'm going to tell you, you have a 12-hour window around a new moon, so if you've got to go back to work or are not in a place where you can write it down, you can write it down tonight. Yeah, grains and sugars and nuts will lead to problems with your nervous system. Somebody said she had a problem that, and she lost a fair amount of weight. You will. Hi, Sharon Sipe. Thank you for being here. I'm sort of making notes on my lap about what I'm going to talk about. Go and look at the 3 links I gave you. I gave you 2 things on tapping, and then Thomas Delaurer's 14-day tryout keto thing. Thomas is probably one of the best science-based, not scientists that's out there talking, and he talks about things sometimes in real terms. I sort of skip the big words and listen for what the message ultimately is. Next week, I'm going to have a list of people I really like to watch because I think they give you good advice. I know in the 2 years I've been doing this, it works, that they work well for me. So, and I'll try to direct you to some of them. But yeah, somebody's writing, avocados are a great way to get fat. I mean, I eat a lot of avocado. I mean, avocado toast. There's a lot of ways to do this. And there are now commercially available low-carb breads that are not wheat-based that are good. I've heard about the ladyberry. I actually saw them do a thing on Sorted Chefs, the British show, about that. It sounds kind of wild. Anyway, guys, I am going to cut it off here. And like I said, your homework is go look at those people. Go. I highly recommend the 21-day course in tapping if you want it from Daily Ohm. I found it was really good and not nearly as expensive as a lot of the other tapping things I looked at the time. And I've got 52 viewers. That's really good. So like and share. And if you have a friend who's always saying, I just can't figure out where to start weight loss, this is where you start. You start inside your head. And for today, I pulled one oracle card, and I pulled it from the Power of Surrender deck. And we got Surrender to Spirit. Okay, and it says, once you've done everything you can to achieve a goal, turn the situation over to the divine. The Spirit will work magic through you. And I think that's true. I think that when you get to a point where you just kind of relax and you say, okay, I've done what I can do, and ask your guides for help. And just see, what comes. And if you have questions, I'm going to post another. You can go to my community page and post questions, and I'll be glad to help you. Like I said, next week's going to be kind of the sites that I followed that helped me the most, and we'll see where we go from there. There's some really good keto chefs, by the way. So if you think, God, I don't know how to make that food, a lot of them are pretty simple, and they're easy to follow. And it makes it a lot easier because you can control your own food. Well, you all have a good day, and I will talk at you later.